गिरिपरता जय गोपीचन वल्लभा गिरिपरता यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन यमुनतीरा वनचारि यमुनतीरा वनचारि जय राधमाधवा कुंज बिहारी जय राधमाधवा कुंज बिहारी जय गोपीचन वल्लभा गिरिवरदारी जय गोपीचन वल्लभा गिरिवरदारी यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन यमुनतीरा वनचारि यमुनतीरा वनचारि जय राधमाधवा कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा श्रील प्रभुपदा जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परमहंस अष्टोत्तर सदा श्री श्रीमती स्वयं प्रति भक्त वेदांत स्वामी शिल प्रभुपाद की जय। इसका संस्थापक का जय शिल प्रभुपाद की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परमहंस अष्टोत्तर सदा श्री श्रीमत इस स्वयं शिल भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती को स्वयं महाराज प्रभुपाद की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद शिल गौर किशोरदास महाराज की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद सच्चिदानंद शिल भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद वैष्णव सर्वम श्री जगन्नाथ दास महाराज की जय। जय श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुन श्री गिरि गोपाल भट्ट गोस्वामी प्रभु की जय। नमाचार्य दास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से को श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्री साधु गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण को अपने श्याम सुंदर राधा कुंज गोवर्धन की जय। श्री महापुर धाम श्री वृंदावन राम की जय। गंगा मई की जय अमर मई की जय। भक्ति देवी की जय तुलसी देवी की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। ग्रंथा श्रीमद भागवतम की जय। इस्कॉन वर्तमान गुरुवंद के समाज भक्ति गौरव प्रेमानंद हरि हरि बोल। All glories to the assembly. So all glories to the assembly. So all glories to the assembly. So all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Sri Prabhupada. ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वती व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। अष्टप्रायेषु पत्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। हरे कृष्णा। Welcome you all to the Saturday morning Srimad Bhagavatam summary study. We are today discussing from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 23, Text 1 to Text 9. Most of the slokas are prose format, so I will recite the first sloka and the last sloka. Text number one. Shishaka uvacha atatasmat paratastrayottash laksha yojanantarato yattat vishnoho paramam padam abhivadanti yatraya mahabhagavato dhruva औत्थानपादिर् अग्निनेन्द्रेण प्रजापतिना कश्यपेन धर्मेण च समकालैः स बहु मानं दक्षिणतः क्रियमाण इदानीम् अपि कल्पजीविनाम् अभिच्य उपास्ते तस्य हानुभाव उपवर्णितः Translation Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sukadeva Goswami continued, my dear king, 1,300,000 yojanas, that is 104 lakh miles above the planets of the seven sages, is the place that learned scholars describe as the abode of Lord Vishnu. There, the son of Maharaja Uttanapada, the great devotee, Maharaj Dhruva still resides as the life source of all living entities who live until the end of the creation. Agni, Indra, Prajapati, Kashyapa, and Dharma all assembled there to offer him honor and respectful obeisances. They circumambulate him with their right sides towards him. I have already described the glorious activities of Maharaja Dhruva in the fourth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Akyanatimirandasya Jnanandana Salake Chakshutmantanam Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Mani Pishtam Stapitam Ena Putale Swayam Rupakta Mahyam Tada Sri Swapadantikam Vande Ham Shri Guru Shri Tapadakamalam Shri Karan Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sakrajatam Sarvana Raghunatham Tam Sri Tam Satvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padhan Saganalanta Shri Vishakhan हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधो जगतपते गोपेश कल्पित कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वशमानस्ते वनमामि हरिप्रिय वांछा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्यश्च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे मोक्ष Hare Krishna. So, in the previous two chapters, we have discussed about the movement of the sun, and the last chapter that was discussed was the orbits of the planet. In fact, most of the fifth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam focus on the material creation. And today's chapter is entitled the Shishumara Planetary Systems. So, in the first sloka, Sukadeva Goswami is telling Parikshit Maharaj 1,300,000 yojana, which works out about 104 10 crores 400,000 miles above the planets of the seven sages, is the place that learned scholars describe as the abode of Vishnu. So the previous speakers have described the planetary systems. I'm not going to that detail now. So there, Maharaja Uttanapada's son, Dhruva Maharaj, is still living there, and he will live there until the end of this annihilation. And all the other demigods, they offer their respectful obeisances. They circumambulate him also with their right sides towards him, which is the normal way we do circumambulate in the temple. So, some important point before we start this particular chapter. It is said that there are two ways of acquiring knowledge. One is the Vedic way, which is given in scriptures, and the other is the scientific way. In the scientific way, what happens is that there is a lot of mental speculation that goes around, and every day theories change. Particularly scientists, they change their theories. Today somebody will say something which is contradictory to what was told before, and what tomorrow the another scientist will speak will be contradictory to what is being told today. So, for example, if we take for some time back, there was a say that petrol is harmful for health. It emits a lot of emission and all those things. Then after that, people started promoting diesel, saying that petrol is contaminating diesel. But now the talk is that diesel gives a lot of smoke. And then now we turn to gas. So all the vehicles are powered by gas, saying that gas is emission free. After some time, somebody will come and say that gas is also not possible. They'll give so many reasons. And then I saw some articles where which said that uh, India has introduced some trains which run on hydrogen, which gives water. So this way in science, what happens is that one scientist contradicts something what he himself has said. Another scientist will contradict what one scientist has said. This way they go on speculating. But nobody knows what is right and what is wrong. People accept it because they have a blind faith. The other way of acquiring knowledge is Vedic scriptures. The scriptures are eternal because the scriptures are given by the Lord. The Lord himself says, in the sixth canto, we find Vishnu Dutas telling the Yamaduta Dharmam to Shakshat Bhagavat Panitam. That means the principles of religion are established by the Supreme Lord himself, and nobody else can do that. So, what is given by the Lord cannot go wrong. Lord is free from the four defects of mankind. Mankind has got four defects: easily illusion, imperfect senses, and so forth. Easily likely to commit mistakes, likely to be cheated. Uh, Lord is free from all these four defects. And so, similarly, anything to do with the Lord is absolute and they are free from the four defects. Vedic scriptures are also eternal, they don't change from day to day and time to time. This is how the Vedas are. The applications of the Vedas may vary from yuga to yuga. Satya Yuga may be more focused on Vedas. Kali Yuga is focused on chanting and reading Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam itself is the essence of all the Puranas, Vedas, and everything. So these are eternal ones and they don't change day by day. There is a possibility of some uh, those who are not having a proper understanding in religion may speculate and give out some theories. But one who accepts knowledge from a proper parampara, which comes in a disciplined succession, the knowledge is perfect because what is spoken by the Lord is spoken by the parampara. Nobody deviates. So we are all coming from Brahma, Madhava, Gauriya Sampradaya, and our knowledge comes from the Lord to Brahma and so forth. So if you see Srimad Bhagavatam, it was compiled by none other than Srila Vyasadeva, who was an empowered incarnation of the Supreme Lord himself. And Srimad Bhagavatam is considered as a ripened fruit of all Vedic knowledge. There are some speakers who have mentioned that uh, scientists say that religion has come from science, but there are some speakers who say that science has evolved from religion, and that most of the scientists have taken Vedic knowledge from science, based on science, and given their own versions. I'm not a scientist, or I'm not in a position to comment on these. But I heard some example, which I'll give it to you. For example, it is said that Aristotle, he was a great philosopher, and he spoke about five gross elements, that is earth, water, fire, air, and ether. But he did not go beyond that. He did not even touch about the three subtle elements, that is mindset, intelligence, and false ego. So whatever he understood from the gross elements, he gave his theories based on gross elements. Also, it is said Isaac Newton was a scientist. He was a believer of God, and the theories that he gave forth were based on atheism. So he did say that if there is a creation, there is a creator, but he did not come to the point as to who is the creator and God is the creator. So, like that, there are some examples of speculative activities that went around. And over a period of time, people got carried away by scientists instead of believing in religion based on scriptures. The Puranas, we have a lot of different types of scriptures, the Vedas, the Puranas, Upanishads, and everything. The Puranas are many in numbers, but the thing is, they are very deep in terms of philosophy. And the scientists could not understand the philosophy fully, and also they could not understand whatever they understood in a proper perspective. So they have got into a lot of mental speculation and gave their own theories. Uh, but Srimad Bhagavatam is considered to be the best of the Puranas. There is also a mention that politics was introduced in religion by the British, and they believed strongly in Christianity. So they did their very level best to uh, negate Hinduism and so forth during their rule. So they manipulated a lot of information in their scriptures to suit their convenience, and their entire Vedic system broke. For example, it is said in Bible also, "Thou shalt not kill." But the British people who are not well versed, they changed it to suit their convenience, and they resort to killing animals also. Here's one example how they manipulated a lot of information. So one reason that Puranas is to be taken is that the knowledge is given in Puranas that covers a vast variety of areas of knowledge, and in which one is the cosmic manifestation. And one reason why we are going through and trying to understand the creation is that when we understand the intricacies of creation, of which we are going to discuss today also, we'll understand there's a creator who is far beyond our understanding. So Puranas, these things, information is given in Puranas so that we can understand. For example, Earth is a very insignificant part of the entire universe. There are so many universes in the entire material creation, and it is said that our universe is the smallest. And within our universe, there are plenty of planets, stars, and everything. And there are so many living entities that are living in all these planets and stars. And in Earth, which is the smallest, we are one among them. So we must understand from this how insignificant we are and how great the Supreme Lord is, who is the creator for all this. This is the purpose. Some we will come to the uh, discussion at the end of this chapter. When I discussed 2 weeks back about the movement of the sun, we also discussed how glorious sun is. And so similarly, all other planets, all the stars have their own significance. I'm not an astrologer, I'm not an astronomer, but I'll speak on what is given in Srimad Bhagavatam. Then I go to sloka number 2. Translation says, established by the supreme will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the pole star, which is the planet of Maharaja Dhruva, constantly shines as the central pivot for all the stars and planets. The unsleeping, invisible, most powerful time factor causes these luminaries to revolve around the pole star without cessation. Property small, I'll take once again. Yeah. Some important points. So it is stated here that all the luminaries, planets, and stars revolve by the influence of the supreme time factor. The time factor is another feature of the supreme personality of Godhead, and everyone is under the influence of time factor, but the supreme personality is so kind and loves his devotee Maharaj Dhruva, so much that he has placed all the luminaries under the control of Dhruva Maharaj and has arranged for the time factor to work under him with his cooperation. So I will not read the rest of the purport. The point to be taken here in this sloka is that there are many, many millions of luminaries, planets, and stars that revolve around this planet of Dhruva Maharaja called pole star. And they are also affected by time. We are all affected by time. We don't realize that. In one moment, in a fraction of a second, the time passes from one moment to the other. If we want to go back to the previous moment, second, we can't go back. That is how powerful time is. And it is also that said that time takes, the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam mentions as to how time takes moment from our life. Every moment, the time is taking our life. We are getting closer to death at every moment. That is the point, understanding is there. But the Lord is so very merciful that he loves his devotee like Dhruva Maharaj, and he has wanted to glorify Dhruva Maharaj. So he has placed all the stars and planets in such a way that they are under the control of this pole star. And they are also, all the planets and stars have living entities. And he has arranged time factor to work under him, under Dhruva Maharaj, or with his cooperation. So everything is actually done by the will and direction of the personality of Godhead. And in this particular chapter, because the Lord wanted to glorify Dhruva Maharaj as a very important individual, he placed the activities of the time factor under his control. So we will understand a little more from this. This planet of the pole star is like an axis around which all the planets, all the stars, they revolve by the time factor. So they have time factor like us, but the time varies. I mean, in the heavenly planets, it is said that 1 day of their life is equal to 6 months for us, and one night is equal to 6 months for us. So 1 year is equal to 1 day for them. So this is how time affects different living entities in different planets. Uh, so all the planets and stars revolve around the pole star by the time factor. So the point is that time affects every living entity in every planet. Then all the planets and stars are connected by wind, similar to a rope. It is similar to a merry-go-round. And when the pivot rotates, then Kala Chakra rotates and all the planets and stars rotate. I'll come to this point. Sorry. Now, the pole star is a central pivot. Around it, all the planets and stars are connected by a wind, similar to Rome. Now, we must imagine in the next sloka, it is explained in detail. A rope is tying two ends to two different objects. Similarly, there is a rope of wind which ties the Dhruva Maharaj planet and to all the other planets. It is not visible to us. It is like another example analogy that is given is like a merry-go-round. When we go and see a merry-go-round, which we see in circus and all these things, there is a pivot, there is a center point around which the whole merry-go-round goes. It goes in circles. Similarly, when the pivot, that is Dhruva Maharaj planet, rotates, the Kala Chakra, that is the time factor, also rotates, and all the planets and the stars also rotate. This is the second important point of this second sloka. I come to the third sloka. Translation Srila Prabhupada ki jai. When bulls are yoked together and tied to a central post to thresh rice, they tread around that pivot without deviating from their proper positions. One bull being closest to the post, another in the middle, and a third on the outside. Similarly, all the planets and all the hundreds and thousands of stars revolve around the pole star, the planet of Marja Dhruva, in their respective orbits, some higher and some lower. Fastened by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to the machine of material nature, according to the results of their fruitive activities, they are driven around the pole star by the wind and will continue to be so until the end of creation. These planets float in the air within the vast sky, just as clouds with hundreds of tons of water float in the air, or as great Siana eagles, due to the results of past activities, fly high in the sky and have no chance of falling to the ground. Srila Prabhupada has given a very long purport, so we will understand point by paragraph by paragraph. So according to the description in this verse, hundreds and thousands of stars and great planets such as Sun, Moon, Venus, Mercury, Mars, Jupiter, etc., they are not clustered together because of law of gravity or any other similar idea of modern scientists. These planets and stars are all servants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda or Krishna. And according to his order, they sit in their chariots and travel in their respective orbits. So, like I mentioned, Earth is one of the smallest planet in this universe. And like this, there are hundreds and thousands of planets and stars. Some names you might have heard: Venus, Mercury, Mars, and Jupiter, etc. We don't have access to any of these planets. In fact, Srila Prabhupada always said that our astronauts who claim to have landed at moon, they didn't go to moon because it is not possible for any living entity to go to moon by any physical means. They might have landed in some place which nobody knows. We don't want to enter into discussion on that particular point. But the point is that every planet in every universe have got living entities, and all the living entities are there based on their karma. And they are all these planets are like in the yesteryear, there used to be for crushing rice, there used to be a system where on the central pot or central pivot, there used to be rice, and then on this, there used to be a bamboo rod. You can imagine how it will be. And that rod will be tied on one end by a rope. The other end of the rope will be tied by three bulls or four bulls or five bulls. One will be the closer one with a shorter rope. The next will be slightly longer in the middle. And the another rope, which will be longer, will be in the outside. And these bulls go around the pillar and thereby crushes the rice. This practice was existing before. I've seen this in some villages during the previous years, about 40 years or 50 years before, because no machines were there at that time. So this is how all the planets are tied to the planet, to the Dhruva Bharat pole star by a rope of wind. So it's a imagination we must have as to how these planets are placed, and all the planets and they all revolve around the pole star without disturbing each other. Now, this visualization has to be done on a vertical platform, not on a horizontal platform. Vertical platform is like a semi merry-go-round, not on a horizontal platform. Some are lower and some are higher. And the Lord has arranged to tie this to the material nature, and they float in this air within the fast sky. And the analogy is we have a lot of clouds. We have seen clouds here in our on a day-to-day basis. It is said that these clouds carry hundreds of tons of water, but they are floating in the air. And another analogy is there are Siana eagles, which are very, very big, and they also fly in the sky, but there is no chance of their falling to the ground. So from the purport, we'll pick up some important points. All these planets and stars are all servants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Like we are servants, these planets are also servants. And they sit in their chariots, which we can't see, but we must visualize, and travel in their respective orbits. The orbits in which they are moved are compared to machines given by material nature to the operating deities of the stars and planets. That means in every star and in every planet, there is a presiding deity, and they move as per the orders of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they revolve around Dhruva. And this example is given. Srila Prabhupada gives a quote from Brahma Samhita. The sloka is Chakshuresa Savita Sakalagrahanam Raja Samasta Suramurti Rasesha Tejaha Yasyatnaya Brahmati Sambrata Kala Chakro Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. The translation is whereby Lord Brahma is saying to the Lord, I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, under whose control even the sun, which is considered to be the eye of the Lord, rotates within the fixed orbit of eternal time. So the sun, which we see every day morning rising in the east and setting in the west, that also moves. It is considered to be one of the eye of the Lord. Sun and moon are considered to be the eye of the Lord of the Virat Rupa. We'll come to this a little later. So the sun and moon also rotate within the fixed orbit based on time factor. And the sun is considered to be the king of all the planetary systems. And it has unlimited heat and light, which it emits to us. So this is a confirmation from Brahma Samhita that there is no law of gravity which works on sun and moon on all the planets. based on Newton's theory, that law of gravitation, whatever it is. I'm not dwelling into detail. So they all float in the air, and they are all huge planets. So they work because Srila Prabhupada gives an example of movement of air. Uh, Now, examples are, one example is given is of cloud. Cloud, I mentioned, is carries tons of water, but it doesn't fall down. The reason is that uh, by movement of air on all the four directions, uh, the uh, object is being floated in the air. And one example that is I can give you from my experiences, these aircrafts, we see airplanes flying every day. They move in they are quite heavy, and so aircraft which carry 300 passengers, 400 passengers, etc. A huge aircrafts. So similarly, there are airplanes in the heavenly planets, the airplanes in the spiritual planets, but they don't fall down on the earth because they maintain a balance between four different types of air. I know from little experience that an airplane flies by four types of air. One is called lift, one is called thrust, one is called a weight, and one is called a drag. This it's not for us necessary for us to understand these intricacies, but there are different four types of air that balance an aeroplane. Similarly, these types of movement of air, they balance the position of a planet or a star or a universe and keep it floating in the sky. Now, in the case of here, uh, we see generally in sometimes even in our day to day, very rarely it happens, two aircrafts collide and the aircraft crashes and everything falls into pieces. All the passengers in the plane, they all die. But in the case of why that happens is it's a man-made creation. But in the case of the creation of the universe, which is created by the Lord, there is no clash. The planets follow their path, the stars follow their path. They don't deviate even a moment from their path that is given. That is why it is said that the denizens of the heavenly planets, they follow the Supreme Personality of Godhead very much, whereas we human beings in the earthly planet, we tend not to follow. That is the difference between us and the denizens of the heavenly planets. That's why they have got this position. They have got this position because they have a material desire also, and at the same time, they will perform a lot of devotional service. So from this verse of Brahma Samhita, we understand that sun is also moving according to the directions of the Lord. And there is also a mention, the word Durga also means fort. This universe is like a fort in which all the conditioned souls are kept. And they cannot leave it unless and until they are liberated by the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we are all stuck within this fort. Imagine if you are stuck within the four walls of a house. We are stuck within the fort of this universe. And it is not possible to get out of this universe because the universal covering itself is so thick that we can't cross it unless and until we get liberated by the personality of Godhead Himself. So Srila Prabhupada has given a quote from Bhagavad Gita 4.9. Janma karma cha me tivyam evam yo vetti tattvataha tyakva deham punarjanma naiti mameti sojana. He says, one who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving his body, take birth again in this material world, but attains to my eternal abode. So, if just by understanding that Lord Krishna doesn't take birth and he got a transcendental nature, uh, and his activity is also transcendental, that much is enough for us to uh, get relief from the birth in this material world again. So just by taking to Krishna consciousness, one can be released from this great fort of the universe and go back to the spiritual world. Then the next point that is mentioned is that the predominating deities of even the greatest planet have been offered their exalted post because of the very valuable pious activities they performed in previous births. This is mentioned in various many scriptures. The moon is also a jiva. The sun is also a jiva. But the point is that all the planets, all the stars, they have got their positions because they have performed a lot of pious activities. These pious activities are also described in the Vedas. And because of that, they have occupied these positions. That means the sun is a living entity, moon is a living entity, the preceding deities of these planets are also living entities. In fact, we'll come to a place where there is a mention that the preceding deity of the sun is Surya Narayana. Uh, from Bhagavad Gita, we understand the sun god Vivaswan. Actually, the worshipable object of worship is Surya Narayana. Similarly, moon god is a presiding deity. He's also a living entity. So all these people have personalities have been given various pose due to pious activities. Okay, here. Only the presiding deity of the sun, Surya Narayana, is an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that means Surya Narayana is a presiding deity and it is an incarnation of Personality of Godhead. Many worship the sun planet, but the personality to be worshipped is Surya Narayana, not the sun. Uh, so similarly, Dhruva Maharaj is also a living entity like us. Srila Prabhupada mentioned that there are two kinds of living entities, the supreme entity, which is the supreme personality of Godhead, and ordinary living entities or jivas like us. Now here comes the point, next point. All the demigods are engaged in the service of the Lord, and only by such an arrangement are the affairs of the universe going on. So we might have heard by now that there are 33 crore demigods, and each one have a post in the management of the universal affairs. And only by the order of the Lord they function, and that's how the whole universal management goes on. They cannot deviate even a single moment or even a single part. Then the next important mention is about the eagles, which I had mentioned. It is understood that there are eagles so big that they can prey on big elephants, and they fly so high that they can travel from one planet to another. They start flying in one planet and land in another, and while in flight, they lay eggs that hatch into other birds while falling through the air. In Sanskrit, such eagles are called Shena. That means there are eagles which are so big that they hunt on elephants and eat them. And they're so big, in spite of that, they go from one planet to the other, they fly on them. And they don't have a special aircraft, they fly on their own self. And while at the time of flying, they also lay down eggs which hatch into other birds. And these small hatching birds also don't fall through the air. And these birds are called Sena eagles. This is a category of eagles. So Srila Prabhupada says that under the present circumstances, we cannot see such huge birds, but at least we know of eagles that can capture. We see eagles that capture monkeys and then throw them down and kill them. The eagles eat them. So similarly, we must understand when Shastra say that there are Siena eagles on the upper planets, and they carry elephants of those planets. They kill them and eat them also. Then Srila Prabhupada mentions that the planets, just like the cloud and the eagle, they float similarly. Material nature adjusts the airs of the planets according to the orders of the Supreme Lord. Uh, there is another important point that is mentioned here, the word Medi Stamba. It is used to describe that no one can cross beyond that point. That is just like a central pivot, there are three bulls tied by different lengths of rope. The inner one has a shorter rope, the middle one has a longer rope, and the outer one has the longest rope. But they all rotate around the central pivot, and the planets don't cross each other, they don't hit each other. Similarly, the clouds carry a lot of water. Similarly, these planets also float in the air. Scientists have given so many theories, but the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the cause of all causes. Now, this form that is we are discussing about is called Shishumara. Shishumara is basically dolphin. We have seen dolphins. Those who have not seen might have seen in TV serial or cinema or somewhere. So the way the planets and stars are placed, it looks like a dolphin. That's why it is called a Shishumara planetary system. These forms are also temporary and material forms and meant for less intelligent people who cannot worship the spiritual form of the Lord. Now, we can understand from the Shastras that the Lord has a spiritual form. He does not have a material form like us. Lord's form is made of Satchitananda Vigraha. He has got a form composed of Sat, Chit, and Ananta. That is eternity, bliss, and knowledge. Visually, we cannot imagine a form based out of eternity, bliss, and knowledge. So for us, the Lord has given Archa Vigraha, which is also as good as which is also as good as the spiritual form of the Lord. Now there are hardcore materialists; they cannot understand the spiritual form of the Lord. They are so much materially conditioned that they can only relate to material forms. So for them, the Lord has given these forms. Now we'll come to this a little later. Now, above Dhruva there is Garbhodaka ocean, and around these there are 7 layers. That's what I mentioned. The universal layer is very, very difficult to cross. There are 7 layers: earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and so forth. And each layer is 7 times, 10 times bigger than the previous layer. So, from that, we must understand how great the Lord is and how difficult it is for us to cross this material universe. One reason why these details are given in Srimad Bhagavatam is for us to understand the greatness of the Lord, the opulence of the Lord, because it is not a common man's skill by which these things work. And also to understand that all these are taking place by one's karma. Whether it's a planet or the star, they move based on karma. One example that is given in Srimad Bhagavatam is given about Indra. Indra once tried to have affair, extramarital affair with the wife of Brihaspati. Brihaspati is a spiritual master of the denizens of heaven. And when Brihaspati learnt about it, he cursed Indra. And Indra became a hog and came to the earthly planet. And he had his own family of pigs. So at one point of time, when his uh, karma, this thing was over, Brahma himself came to tell him, now the time is over. You can come back to heaven and take your position. But Indra said, no, no, I'm happy here with my family, because he had a pig family, his wife, and many piglets. That is how even a denizen of heaven can fall down and take birth in lower species of life. So all these are temporary. The point is that Indra was cursed by Brihaspati, and these things happen in the heavenly planets. Another important point I already mentioned is about time. Time affects everybody in all planets. It is said that the Supreme Lord can arrange the movement of, this is an important point. It is said that the Supreme Lord can arrange the movement of planetary systems in such a way that they form a system at the time of birth of a human being. That is, the living entities appear at a certain time when the stars are aligned in a particular position. I'll explain in this. As you all, I'm not an astronomer, I'm not an astrologer. But one thing is true, the science is true, astrology is the true science, uh, whereby when they say, okay, this person has been born with this so and so star, he will be having a bright future, he will be having a good career, he'll be having a lot of wealth. Some say that this star is not good. So it is a true science. So it is it's a science given by the Lord Himself. So it is said that when we take birth, at that time, the Lord appears, the Lord facilitates our birth in this planet or in this universe in such a way that there is a proper system, a planetary system that is already there. So that is how it is said that the person is so and so, born with this nakshatra, with that constellation, with this and so and so. because the planetary systems are already arranged by the Lord. So the Lord arranges birth in such a way that based on our karma, we take birth at a time when the planetary system takes a specific position. So astrology is a science, but many astrologers don't know that how true that it is. And in Kali Yuga, everything is subject to speculation, but the science is true. And the Lord, Brahma himself prays in Brahma Samhita, Yasvendra Gopa Matavendra Mahosva Karma Bandhan Urupa Palavaja Namatumavati Karmani Nita Harti Kint Bhakti Bhajam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. The translation is that right from Indra Gopa, which is a smallest insect, to all the way up to King Indra, everybody is bound in this material world by the karma. So our birth also takes place due to our karma. Sometimes we may be born as an animal, sometimes as a bird, and sometimes as a human being, sometimes as a demigod also. These are the important points from this verse. Uh, Srila Prabhupada also gives some reference. Yeah, yeah. He gives a quote from Bhagavad Gita 19 where Krishna says, Mayadakshena Bhakti Sivate sa characharam hetunane kaunteya jagat viparivartate. Translation, this material nature is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, and it is producing all moving and non-moving, unmoving beings. By its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. So the point is that the entire universe, the entire planetary system, all the living entities, all the 84 lakh species of life are created, and all the non-moving also like mountains, etc. They are all created by the Lord and annihilated again and again. The orbits of the planets resemble the bodies in which all living entities have. Okay, we'll keep this. Another quote Srila Prabhupada gives is that from Bhagavad Gita 1861, Ishvara Sarvabhutanam Hridestu Arjuna Tishtati Brahmyan Sarvabhutani Yantarudani Maya. The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna, and is directing the wanderings of all living entities who are seated as on a machine made of material energy. So the machine given by material nature, the machine made of the body or the machine of the orbit, which is known as Kala Chakra, works according to the orders given by the personality of Godhead. So that our Lord, as seated as Paramatma in our heart, is directing our wanderings. And then also the Kala Chakra works, the time factor works under the control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the reason we cannot control the movement of sun or moon. They all function in the direction of the Lord. The point is how many planets are floating in this entire universe, and there is no law of gravity that works. Srila Prabhupada also gives a quote from Brahma Samhita 544, which says, Shishti Sthite Pralaya Sadhana Sakti Resa Chayeva Yasya Bhuvanani Vibharti Durga Ichchanu Rupam Avi Yasya Chitesa Tesa Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Padami. The translation, the external potency Maya, who is of the nature of the shadow of Chit potency, is worshipped by all people as Durga, the creating, preserving, and destroying agency of the mundane world. I adore the benevolent Lord Govinda in accordance with those with whose will Durga conducts herself. So I explained Durga also means fort, and Durga here means under whose agency Durga creates, preserves, and annihilates. So Brahma pays that I adore that Lord Govinda, in whose will Durga conducts herself. So the creation, maintenance, and annihilation, whatever is taking place, is conducted by Durga under the control of Supreme Lord. Srila Prabhupada also gives a quote from Bhagavad Gita 4, Janma karma chimetyam evam yoveti tatpada taktva teham punarjanam naiti mameti swachanam. He says, one who knows the transcendental nature of my nature and birth and death does not take birth. Again, this I already mentioned. I also mentioned how the demigods have got their position. The moon is a jiva, I mentioned. Similarly, all the planets like the Venus and Mars and all are living entities like us occupying a higher position. Mm, let's skip some of them. Uh, on the planets, Marga explained. Scientists, scientists, of course, give different theory for different planets and all those things. Text number 4. Translation syllable of what we did. This great machine, consisting of the stars and planets, resembles the form of a Shishumara or a dolphin in the water. It is sometimes considered an incarnation of Krishna, Vasudeva. Great yogis meditate upon Vasudeva in this form because it is actually visible. So, this entire planetary system, when it is set up, it when it is set, one can see it as a form of a dolphin in the river. So we might have seen dolphins. So I don't know when these planets we can see, but Srila Prabhupada mentioned that this vision is it is possible for us to see this planetary system. Uh, and some yogis they meditate on this form as Vasudeva when they see this form. Uh, yeah, I'll read the translation again. This forms resembles the form of Vishumara, sometimes considered as an incarnation of Krishna Vasudeva. This is the yogis consider this to be an incarnation. They believe like that. So they contemplate on this imaginary Shishumara form to be swimming in the sky like a dolphin. And they meditate on this just as some people were meditate on the Virat Rupa, the gigantic form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, some important point is that uh, this is an imaginary form meditated by the yogis, and the Lord as Narayana is the super soul of all this. It is not a real form. I mentioned that the Lord has got a spiritual form. We have discussed in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam and the second canto about the universal form of the Lord, which is also called Virat Rupa. Now, these forms are imaginary for a person, a hardcore materialistic person, to understand that there's a form for the Lord. So it is not real. Their path is fixed, and these stars don't deviate from their path. It is also said that there are different forms of the universal form. There is not one universal form. Examples are given, like when Mother Yashoda, when the Krishna's cowherd boyfriends complained to Mother Yashoda that he ate mud. Mother Yashoda asked Krishna to open his mouth, and Krishna displayed a universal form, exhibiting all the universes and planets and all those things in his mouth. That is one form that was shown by Mother Yashoda. Uh, the other form that is mentioned is that in Bhagavad Gita itself, uh, when the Arjuna wanted to see the form of the Lord, the Lord first displayed the universal form, which was seen by Arjuna, for which the Lord gave a divine vision by which he could see. So Arjuna could see the form which others could not see. This is one universal form. Also, there is mentioned in the third canto of Bhagavatam and fifth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, how there is a universal form that goes around Mount Meru, Jambudvip, etc. That the point is that uh, all these universal forms they vary from one to that. That means there are many types of universal form. There is one universal form in the earth which is considered to be imaginary, where the sun and moon are compared to the eyes of the universal form of the Lord. The point is that there are many universal forms, and this Shishumara planetary system is also one universal form. Uh, why the Lord has given this form? Because there are some who are hardcore materialists, and the yogis, when they meditate and they want to gradually progress, they can progress to the spiritual form of the Lord at some point of time. Another point that is given is that there are many impersonalists who believe that the Lord does not have a form, the Lord does not have a name. They are called as impersonalists. So the Lord has facilitated these types of worshippers also to convert them from impersonalism to bring them to a personal form of worship. And another important point from this sloka is that the entire Sishumara system is annihilated when there is annihilation. That means when Brahma's life comes to an end, the Sishumara planets also are annihilated. Text number 5. I'll read the translation. This form of Shishumara has its head downward and its body coiled. On the end of its tail is the planet of Dhruva. On the body of its tail are the planets of demigod Prajapati, Agni, Indra, and Dharma. And at the base of its tail are the planets of the demigods Data and Vidata. Where the hips might be on the Shishumara are the seven saintly sages like Vashishta and Angira. The coiled body of the Shishumara chakra turns toward its right side, on which the 14 constellations from Abhijit to Punarvasu are located. On its left side are 14 stars from Pushya to Uttarashada. Thus, its body is balanced because its sides are occupied by an equal number of stars. On the back of the Shishumara is the group of stars known as Ajaviti, and on its abdomen is the Ganges that flows in the sky. The point is that from this what we can understand is there are several stars which are placed on the body of the planets and stars which are placed on the body of the Shishumara system. There is not much. There is a mention here about last point says that on its abdomen is the Ganges that flows in the sky. We have a Ganges water, Ganges that is flowing here. Similarly, there is a Ganges in the heavenly planet that is called the Milky Way, which is also called Akash Ganga. We can also praise and glorify this form of the Lord. And this is something very much similar to the universal form of the Lord, but it's not a spiritual form. Yeah. Text number 6. On the right and left sides of these, of where the loins might be on the Shishumara Chakra, are the planet stars named Punarvasu and Pushya. Ardra and Ashlesha are on its right and left feet. Abhijit and Uttarashada are on its right and left nostrils. Shravana and Purvashada are on its right and left eyes. Dhanishta and Mula are on its right and left ear. The 8 stars from Magha to Anuradha, which mark the southern coast, are in the ribs of the left of its body. And the 8 stars from Mrgashirsha to Purvapatra, which mark the northern coast, are in the ribs on the right sides. Satabhishesha and Jeshta are on the right and left solar. So more to do with astronomy. Not well into detail. Text number 7. On the upper chin of the Shishumara is Agasti, on its lower chin Yamaraja, on its mouth Mars, on its genitals Saturn, on the back of its neck Jupiter, on its chest the Sun, and within the core of its heart Narayana. Within its mind is the moon, and on its navel Venus, and on its breast the Ashwini Kumaras. Within its live air, which is known as Pranapana, is Mercury, and on its neck is Rahu. All over its body are comets, and in its pores are the numerous stars. Text number 8. Translation Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. My dear king, the body of the Shishumara, as this described, should be considered the external form of Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Morning, noon, and evening, one should silently observe the form of the Lord as Shishumara Chakra and worship him with this mantra. O Lord, who has assumed the form of time, O resting place of all the planets moving in different orbits, O master of all demigods, O supreme person, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you and meditate upon you. So, 1 second. From this sloka, we can understand that these yogis who worship this Shishumara Chakra, they worship the Lord with this mantra. They say, they do this prayer morning, noon, and evening. And they recite this mantra, O Lord, who has assumed the form of time, O resting place of all the planets moving in different orbits, O master of all the demigods, O supreme person, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you and meditate upon you. So the yogis offer this prayer to glorify the Lord in this form. Like I mentioned, one can praise the Lord, one can glorify the Lord also in this form. I come to text number 9. I'll recite this sloka because the last sloka. Grahar Adidevikam Papapaham Mahantrakratam Trikalham Namasyatah Smarato Vak Trikalham Nashyeta Tatkalajam Asupapam. Translation Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The body of the Supreme Lord Vishnu, which forms the Sishumara Chakra, is the resting place of all the demigods and all the stars and planets. One who chants this mantra to worship that Supreme Person 3 times a day, morning, noon, and evening, will surely be free from all sinful reactions. If one simply offers his obeisance to this form and remembers this form 3 times a day, all his recent sinful activities will be destroyed. Uh, I'll read a part of the purport. Summarizing the entire description of the planetary systems of the universe, Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur says that one who is able to meditate upon this arrangement as a Virat Rupa or Vishwa Rupa, the external body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and worship Him 3 times a day by meditation, will always be free from all sinful reactions. So, Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur says that one who worships this form by reciting this mantra, which I told in sloka number 8, he becomes free from the reactions of all sinful activities. It also says that if one simply offers his obeisance to this form and remember this form 3 times a day, his sinful activities will be destroyed. I will go further in the purport. The Krishna Chakravarti Thakur estimate that the Dhruva Loka, the pole star, is 38 lakh yojanas above the sun. Above Dhruva Loka is 10 crore yojanas is Maharloka. Above Maharloka is 20 crore yojanas Janaloka. Above Janaloka by 80 lakh yojanas is Tapaloka. 8 lakh yojanas is Tapaloka. And above Tapaloka, 120 crore yojanas is Satyaloka. Thus, the distance from the sun to Satyaloka is 233 crores 800 lakhs, 8 lakhs yojanas, or 1,870 crore 400,000 miles. The Vaikuntha planets begin 26 lakh 200,000 yojanas. That is 209 crore 600,000 miles above Satyaloka. Thus, the Vishnu Purana described that the covering of the universe is 260 crore yojanas, that is 2,080 crores miles away from the sun. The distance from the sun to the earth is 100,000 yojanas, and below the earth by 70,000 yojanas are the 7 lower planetary systems called Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Talatala, Mahatala, Rasatala, and Patala. Below these lower planets by 30,000 yojanas, Sheshanaga is lying on the Garbhodaka Ocean. That ocean is 249 crores 800,000 yojanas deep. That's the total diameter of the universe is approximately 500 crore yojanas, or 4,000 crore nautical miles. So the point is that I will not dwell too much into the distance part of it. And with this, thus end the Bhaktivandan, the purport to the 5th canto, 23rd chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, called the Shishumara Chakra. Before I conclude the class, I want to give some important points from this chapter. This chapter basically describes how the luminaries, planets and stars are connected. They also describes how some are auspicious and some are inauspicious, which planets carry these auspicious and inauspicious. This chapter also displays the greatness of the Lord as to how the Supreme Lord controls the entire universe, including all the living entities. Sri Vishnu Chakravarti Thakura, one of the acharyas now, Sampradaya, says that Karma Mishra Bhaktas, who desire to hear about the vibhutis of the Lord, uh, uh, for them the Lord has presented this form, and they should know that the Lord is not an ordinary person. Normally, in the course of our discussion with anybody, when we discuss that Krishna is God, they don't believe. But when somebody reads these points or understands, they should try to understand that the Supreme Lord Krishna is not an ordinary person like us. Then another example is, it is stated that in the moon, there are some black spots which you might see. They look like an inverted rabbit. I've not seen it so far. One of you want to try, venture it. when a rabbit is inverted, that looks like a black spot in the moon. Similarly, when the planets and stars are connected to the pole star, it looks like the shape of a dolphin. It's an imaginary form, so you can imagine. I also mentioned that planets and stars control our lives based on our karma. Another important point is that Jyoti Shastra, the Shastra is real, but there are real astrologers and there are bogus astrologers. Real astrologers are very, very rare today, so we don't want to depend on that. Srila Prabhupada never gave any importance to the science. Not that he negated this, the science is real, but he gave directions to his disciples not to enter into it with too much. Because with too much involvement, one may deviate from his bhakti. There are many examples that people have deviated from have taken up Vastu. That is also a real Shastra. Ayurveda is a real Shastra. This astronomy, astrology, they are all real Shastras. But the devotees who have come and started to practice both bhakti and this, they have been, their involvement in bhakti has been diluted. Especially that's why Srila Prabhupada said one should not follow this. Uh, Today, many astrologers are also, we see they are misguiding the common man. Also, it is said that an astrologer may see the past karma, but he cannot see what is the cost, who is the cost behind, but he cannot see what is the cost behind it. Just an analogy is given that one may see a puppet, but may not see a puppeteer. Similarly, astrologers may see of some karma, but they will not be able to see the future also. And one quote by Srila Prabhupada is that for a devotee, when difficult times come, they are given for him to take shelter of Krishna and surrender into the Lord. So he said astrology is not relevant for devotees. So astrology, astronomy are not relevant to us. But if some difficulties come in our life, we must accept it as a directive of the Lord. He wants us to surrender fully. Also, it is said that many astrologers they make a chart which can predict one's karma, but Krishna consciousness has nothing to do with the karma. Krishna consciousness does not get affected by karma, but by by practicing of bhakti, karma can be diluted. But by karma, practice of karma, bhakti does not come. It's an important point. Mm. Another important point is that pious activities are not counteracted by impious activities and vice versa. That means whatever pious activities one does, one reaps the benefit out of it. And whatever impious activities are done, one has to suffer for it. So they are not counteracted with each other. So we might have heard Rahu, Ketu, Shani, and all these things. Uh, they are all stars. They may be handling impious souls, and it's a fact, it's a science. So from this today, we must understand that these science is true. Uh, one cannot deny this, and but we did not focus as devout practicing sadhakas. We did not focus on these signs, rather stick to focusing on how to improve our bhakti. So with this, I conclude the class for the day. Any of you have got any questions, any comments? I can take it for the next 2 minutes.